3 types of workouts that can ruin your progress. Sean here from Fit Fusion Brotherhood. I own a gym for 10 years. I've coached thousands of clients, and people tend to want to know what type of workouts should they be doing for your goals. Now, when I'm talking about progress, I'm typically talking about what most of our clients come to us wanting to achieve: to look better, to feel better, to be healthier, but generally speaking, add a little bit of muscle, drop a bit of fat, and just get that overall healthy and lean physique. So there are 3 workouts that are very common that a lot of people do that aren't universally bad, but may cause more harm than good when it comes to your specific progress. So let's get into it. Number 1 is the 1 rep max. So the 1 rep max, if you're not familiar, is choosing an exercise and seeing how heavy you can lift it for 1 rep. People want to know how much can you bench, how much can you squat, how much can you deadlift, and you're trying to work up, lift as much as you can to get that 1 rep max. Now, this may seem alluring, and this is great if your overall goal is strength. But again, unless you're training for something specific, unless your only goal right now is strength, there's no need to train for the 1 rep max. First and foremost, although you're lifting super heavy weight and there might be a little bit of muscle that you can build by doing this, it's going to be very minimal. There isn't as much time under tension, there's probably going to be very little volume, and you're not really able to work on the eccentric and controlling the movement as much as you would with a higher rep range. Second, and probably most importantly, the higher risk of injury when you're doing a 1 rep max is going to be a big factor here. So anytime you're lifting a weight as heavy as you can, even if your form is good, the rate and the risk of injury is always going to be a little bit higher, let alone for someone who's just starting out or even intermediate, really getting into it. So the risk of injury is going to be a lot higher as well, which is why we don't necessarily recommend 1 rep maxes unless you're training for something in particular. And then the third reason, and this is going to be a common theme, is just the recovery. Anytime you're lifting a weight as heavy as you can one time, you're going to need a lot of recovery, not just in between sets, but in between workouts as well. So the longer your recovery, the less volume and the less exercise you can actually get. And again, because this recovery is more strength, but not hypertrophy based, you're not really working towards your goal. So although I can see the appeal and the allure of the 1 rep max, kind of being able to brag to your friends and set all these strength goals, if that's your goal, great. But if you just want to look better, feel better, and be healthy, you can skip the 1 rep max. Number 2, HIIT. So high intensity interval training. This is a workout program that got really popular and still is to a certain extent. So for those of you who are not familiar with HIIT, it's essentially going at a very high intense pace for a certain amount of time, followed by recovery, and then just repeating that. So circuit training at a really high intensity. So this can be really good for people who are short on time and just want to get a really good workout in a very short period of time. But it does limit what you're able to achieve, especially if you're trying to build muscle and or get lean. So first and foremost, it does really restrict your ability to build muscle because most of the time you're going at such a high pace. Just like I said with the previous one, you're not really working on the eccentric, you're not working on volume, and you may think it's a great fat burning exercise because technically you are burning more fat or more calories per minute or per second than any other training, but the workout's going to be super short, so you're not really going to be able to get as much fat burning benefit as you see fit. Again, if you're short on time and you want to get a really quick workout and a really efficient workout, it's a good thing to incorporate on the fly, but it's not something that I would make as a regular routine or part of my exercise program. Another problem with the HIIT workouts is they can be very neurologically taxing, which kind of piggybacks off what I was saying with last time when it comes to recovery. So when I say neurologically taxing, there are some exercises and workouts that you can do at a much higher frequency and volume than others because it doesn't take as much out of your body and your nervous system. But when it comes to HIIT, because the intensity is so high, it takes a lot out of your nervous system, which means you need more recovery afterwards as well. And again, if you're trying to build muscle, build a regular routine when it comes to your exercise, this is something that really can kind of work against you. And then finally, it's not very beginner friendly. So HIIT is great if you're an athlete or if you're short on time and you want to be very efficient. But for the average Joe, I can see the benefit and the appeal of wanting to try it out. But to be honest, for most people, unless it's a once in a while type of thing, there's just no need to do it because it can actually cause more harm than good. So when it comes to HIIT, limit or eliminate. And then number 3 would be long duration cardio. So there's nothing wrong with cardio. Cardio is actually really good for your heart. It can be a great way to burn additional calories, be healthier, look better, all that good stuff. But we're talking about low intensity, medium intensity, and low or medium duration as well. So not going for a super long time. So if you're running a couple kilometers here and there, not the end of the world. Probably a good thing, especially if you feel great. But if you're running half marathons, you're doing marathons, you're doing really long bike rides, really long swims, this is going to be really good for your heart health, but pretty much negative when it comes to everything else. So first and foremost, you might think that this is going to be a great fat burner. And in the beginning, it is. You're going to burn a ton of calories by doing this really long duration cardio. But what ends up happening is your body adapts. So as you get better with the cardio, you actually burn fewer and fewer calories. So a professional runner versus someone like me, even though that professional long distance runner can finish way faster than I can, I'm actually burning more calories because I'm very inefficient. And as someone who just wants to look and feel good, that's kind of what you want. So if you're doing this over and over again, you're going to get that adaptation, you're going to work really hard and really get no benefits. And perhaps most importantly here, the more long duration cardio you're doing, the more muscle you're actually losing as well, because your body's going to go after those carbohydrates first. Of course, it's going to go for the fat, but the problem is if you're doing a very long duration cardio and if you're doing it repeatedly, the chances of you losing muscle are going to be very, very high. So you might lose the fat that you want, but if you're losing the muscle that you want, trust me, the number on the scale may go down, but you're not going to be happy with the way you look in the mirror. And then finally, just like the other two, recovery is a big problem here. If you're doing a half marathon or a marathon, you're not going to be able to just hop into the gym the next day and do a regular strength training routine, right? This is something that you have to dedicate towards. So if your main goal is to run marathons and do all that, great. But if your main goal is to look good and feel good, it's definitely not what I would suggest. Okay, so I hope this video helped, guys. If you are looking to avoid some of those workouts that may kind of hold you back from progressing or even pull you back in the wrong direction, the 3 things you might want to avoid would be 1 rep maxes, so going super heavy for 1 rep. You might want to avoid or moderate at least HIIT training, so high intensity interval training, and then limit or moderate long distance cardio as much as possible. If you guys do like these type of videos, do us a huge favor, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.